Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Dorset Council's Licensing Subcommittee on the 20th of May 2025. We've got a couple of formalities to go through, and then I'll explain the procedure of the meeting, if that's okay. So first of all, may we have an election of chairman, please?
Happy to propose.
Get off.
Councillor Beer.
And seconded.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, we're a room full of strange people, so I'll just introduce everybody. My name, as you know, is as you just heard, is Derek Beer, and I represent Shaftesbury. And on my right,
Good morning, I'm Councillor Jill Haynes. I represent Chalk Valleys, which is a bit of farmland that is central to the whole of Dorset. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Williams. I represent Bridport Ward, which everybody knows Bridport.
thank you. I'll go to the legal team.
I'm Laura Orchard from Legal Services.
Thank you. And the licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Aileen Powell. I'm the licensing team leader and the report author.
And our Democratic Services team.
Yep, so I'm Josh Kennedy. I'll be clerking the meeting.
John Miles, Democratic Services.
And I bet you haven't remembered any of those. Right. And over to you. Thank you.
Oh, it went green then red, which is strange. So red's working, but green isn't. Right. Okay. My name's Jonathan Smith. I'm a solicitor from Poppleston Allen, and I represent the premises licence holder, which is Sandy Lane Ventures Limited.
My name is Doran Jamali. I'm the operations director for the premises in Weymouth.
Hi, I'm Richardson D'Souza. I'm the regional manager for the premises for Weymouth.
Good morning. I'm Carol Kamani, and I'm the owner of the building in which Domino's has its demise premises.
Oh, we're okay now. Thank you. We've got a couple of formalities to go through now. I'll just deal with that, and then I'll explain how it's going to work. So do we have any apologies, please?
No apologies today.
And members, do you have any declarations of interest?
No.
No. Thank you very much. How we'll go this morning, the licensing officer will read the report and we'll all make sure that we've understood and are clear with that. We have no one here who's making representations. We'll hear how that's going to work. At the end of when we've heard from everybody, everyone's had a good chance to answer questions and hear all of the facts, we'll retire and make a decision based on the facts we've heard, and that will come back to you within 5 working days. There will be a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Are you happy with that? Any questions? Thank you very much indeed. So, in that case, I'll ask Aileen to deliver the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a hearing to review the premises licence for Domino's in Weymouth after 2 applications were received from 2 hoteliers to review the licence. Because both the applications were received at the same time and they were done in full knowledge of each other, we have joined them together to just have one review. Domino's currently has a licence for late night refreshment only, so it's only licensed from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m, so that is the period of time that we are considering. The applications for the reviews were quite wide-ranging and did cite crime and disorder as well as public safety and the protection of public mental health, I think it was. However, the evidence provided solely related to antisocial behaviour, and so the review was only accepted on the prevention of public nuisance. The applicants were made aware of this at the time. The main complaint that is relevant relates to the noise and nuisance caused by the scooter drivers. Matters relating to parking are usually dealt with under different legislation, and any matters relating to accidental damage are a private matter between the 2 parties and should not be dealt with under the Licensing Act. A mediation meeting was held at the council officers at the request of Mr. Smith, and the operations director and the regional manager attended from Domino's with the 2 hoteliers who had applied for the reviews. This meeting was very positive, And the regional manager proposed 3 main changes: swapping the scooters out to electric scooters, utilising a nearby car park after 9 p.m. for parking the cars, and having a policy for drivers to sign up to. And I'm pleased to report that these suggestions were very favourably received by the 2 hoteliers. Mr. Smith has produced documents detailing these proposals in the supplementary pack, together with the conditions that could be attached to any licence or the licence. But these conditions can only be enforceable between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m, as that's the time the licence covers. Any arrangements for behaviours before 11 p.m. are by way of an undertaking by Domino's and will not be enforceable even if they were to be put on as conditions on the licence. The application did attract a few representations both for and against the review. All the parties have been sent notice of the review hearing, and only one of the people making a representation against the review has indicated that they wanted to attend, and Mrs. Kamani is here. The applicants for the review both responded that they did not feel they needed to add anything to their applications and that they would not be attending the hearing. And the Gloucester did comment that they couldn't attend due to work commitments, so it was checked and double-checked if they wanted to attend. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, do you have any questions for Aileen? No?
No, very comprehensive, thank you.
Pardon?
Very comprehensive, thank you.
Very much. Do you have any questions for Aileen on the report?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We've already heard that the people seeking the review aren't here, so it goes straight to you to tell us. Having read the papers and not read about or not fully taken on board that how the amicable the meeting had been before, I thought it wasn't really a case of happy neighbours, but maybe we can get there now and you can explain what you're going to do to make this thing work.
Yes, thank you, councillors. So it's a review of a licence, premises licence, perhaps unusual in that the applicants aren't here before you, but that's as a result of the mediation meeting that Eileen's detailed to you. The 2 gentlemen sat to my left-hand side are actually from a company called MSG, who operate in total somewhere around 230 Domino's stores, some of which are operated under the Sandy Lane Ventures Limited, which is the premises licence holder here. So they're well used to operating Domino's stores, many late through the night as well. It is what's called a franchise operation, and I'm going to assume I'm not going to teach my grandmother how to suck eggs, but I assume you know what a franchise operation is. It's basically Domino's UK through Domino's USA dictate how you operate the store. And I don't know whether you eat Domino's or you've been to a Domino's, but it is a pizza collection and delivery service. There's very limited seating inside the Domino's. There's no music played, and it's either pizza for collection or pizza for delivery. And it's the pizza for delivery, I think, which will exercise your attention today. This store is actually, whilst the licence has been in the name of Sandy Lane Ventures since 2008, I understand that this store actually was acquired, probably without a licence at the time, in 2006. So actually MSG have looked after this store for some 19 years in total. One thing I'm sure you're going to ask is, how have we got to this stage, councillors, that we're at a review? And I think it's safe to say at the outset that things, if you like, things took a turn for the worse in a way when Domino's UK became involved. That was the head office in Milton Keynes. Initially, it had been resolved and discussions through the local store and the local area manager. At the point Domino's UK then got involved, head office at MSG get involved as well, and things escalated from around about August 2024, and it was at that stage in August that Andrew Ashmore, who is one of the owners of the Gloucester Mews, I think with his wife, he first met with Lars Donoghue, who is the area manager, on the 16th of August. I believe, through Eileen, that there had been previous complaints made of a less serious nature over at least a couple of years before that. But if you like, things became more serious from about August 2024. And it was at that stage that Lars Donahue met with Andrew Ashmore, and this was to do with complaints that had been received about the noise which was being caused by drivers. And that might have been that their engines, cars, mopeds, inconsiderate parking, people chatting when they were closing. There were various complaints made. And what happened was that there were various investigations undertaken. Drivers were reminded through company messages about making sure that they behaved, that they were quiet, that they locked up quietly, left quietly. And investigations were undertaken because in October 2024, there was a specific complaint about 2 motorbikes which were revving up and down Gloucester Mews. Now, it transpired they were not bikes they were not mopeds, petrol or electric. We didn't have the electric ones at the time. These were bikes that were owned by individuals who did not work for Domino's, but they had, on one occasion, I believe, talked to a Domino's driver whilst they were on Gloucester Mews. So various things were changed, as well as warnings going out to drivers that they mustn't talk outside, they must be considerate. What we did is there was a noisier car, I believe, which was changed to a day shift rather than evening shift. We made sure that staff were discouraged from talking to each other by staggering any smoking breaks or breaks so that there were no joint breaks. So in other words, no 2 drivers or members of staff were having breaks at the same time. We installed a second CCTV camera outside on Gloucester Mews, so we actually have a camera pointing in each direction. And the beauty about that camera is it's a live stream to these guys' mobile phones, so they can actually view this CCTV footage on their phones. We met with the council. I think Eileen also met, is that correct? We met with Eileen, we met with Ben Worley, the local police licensing officer, and Martin Wickenden, who is the community safety officer. I believe as a result of that, there are agreements about parking the bikes further up Gloucester Mews, and also the town centre CCTV camera was also relocated slightly to the left so that it had a better view down Gloucester Mews. So those changes were made. Then, however, in February 2025, there was a further complaint about a driver who had a motorbike, a larger motorbike, a 58 plate as it became known, and that person again had been driving their motorbike loudly. That member of staff did work for Domino's. However, on our investigations, they had not been working on the evening of the 12th of February 25, which was when the noise complaint was made. So we have investigated what's been going on. We've actually held investigative meetings with potential disciplinary with 2 members of staff. There's a full WhatsApp group set up with the staff that the area manager feeds into. There's a driver's expectation policy. You've got that enclosed with your documents. Now, that has been amended, which I'll come on to shortly. And what's also happened is the area manager, Lars, he does make spot checks. So he will go and sit in his own car, not a Domino's car, his own car, so he can't be spotted, and actually check that the drivers are behaving and doing what they should be. But then the review came in, was issued. What then triggered it is Dorian sitting to my left and myself. We probably dealt with 50 hearings for Domino's. This is the first review, I should add, all right? But we've dealt with many, many hearings where they've applied for late licenses. And we've therefore come across complaints or potential complaints, and we really got our heads together as to what could be done. I suggested a mediation meeting, which was then held with the 2 guest houses on the 25th of April. And suggestions were put forward there, first of all, that we would replace the petrol mopeds with electric mopeds. I think this is your only store outside London that has electric mopeds. So we bought 5 electric mopeds, £3,000 a piece, gone green, and we use electric mopeds, which obviously, you'll know what a moped can sound like, councillors. We're now electric, and I heard one. Well, I didn't hear one leave last night, but I saw one leave last night. They're electrically charged. We also came up with the proposal that the drivers, if you're driving a car, you will park in Royal Yard car park. Are you familiar with Gloucester Mews and where the car park is, Royal Yard car park. It's at the end of that road. It's not far from Domino's store. You turn out of the door, because drivers use the rear door on Gloucester Mews, turn right, and it's probably 60 seconds down the road. So that car park is free from 6 p.m. You don't have to pay. It's got about 40 car parking spaces. And we have said, and slight confusion I know with the guest houses, the drivers are instructed to park there from 9 p.m. And that is in the driver's expectation policy. Now, that is the revision that was made from the one they'd originally signed, that it will be 9 p.m. in the Royal Yard car park. And also that there's a sign on the door as well. As you go out as a driver, you are told that you must park in Royal Yard. And you've got a picture of that sign that I've put in there as well. I do actually have a picture of the electric scooters if you'd like to see them, because I took them yesterday, but I don't know if you need to see what an electric Domino's scooter looks like. So all drivers have signed the revised driver's expectation policy. Drivers are now told they must park from 9 p.m, although the condition is 11 p.m. for the reason that Aileen's told you. And we will use electric scooters wherever possible. There may be the odd occasion, I don't know, let's say there's an electricity outage and we can't charge the bikes, which is why I've said we'll do everything we reasonably can to make sure we're using electric scooters. And then what's also happened is Dorian and Andrew Ashmore and the owners of the Mayfair Guest House have set up a WhatsApp group between them. So now that if there are any complaints from the Mayfair or Gloucester Mews guest houses, that will go straight into the WhatsApp group. And Richard is also a member of that WhatsApp group. I'm glad to say, since the 25th of April, you have not had a single message in that WhatsApp group in the 3 weeks since then, which is more than 3 weeks since then, nearly 4 weeks. If there is a message that comes in, then the beauty is that either Dorian or Richard can actually look at the CCTV cameras live to see what's going on. So they would actually be able to do that straight away and then get in touch with the store. So that's what we've done. Yes, I think we'd be frank, wouldn't we, Dorian? We wished it hadn't got to this point. We need to be good neighbours. Indeed, your policy talks about businesses living together. So the guest house is living with us and ourselves living with the guest houses. I'm sure you know the area. It is a busy area, councillors, on that street. There's Istanbul Kebabs, which is directly opposite us, which opens or can open 24 hours a day. And we've also got a number of other licensed premises round about. But Gloucester Mews is quieter, which is why we think it's the right thing to do to have mopeds later on in the evening and also parking later on. I wouldn't describe it as a wholly residential community, councillors. I really wouldn't. There are businesses on there, and there aren't numerous guest houses. There's 2 that put a representation and a 3rd that's joined. I did take the chance to read their TripAdvisor reviews. And Gloucester Mews does very well. I think it's the top guest house in the entirety of Weymouth. I didn't see a single complaint from a guest about any noise from mopeds or cars. I think the guest houses tend to be to the front on the esplanade as opposed to the back. There's no environmental health officer complaints. That's acknowledged in the report that there's no record of complaints from environmental health. Dorset Police have been out. There's this town centre CCTV camera actually on the premises, but again, there's no representation from them either. But we do need to live together, and we need to live together peacefully, and we need to work together, and hopefully, whilst we wish it hadn't got to this stage, the consequence of the review today means that the conditions we put forward, councillors, will mean that we can take that forward and make sure that we don't have to come back to you again and that we can live in peace with the guest houses. So.
Thank you. Before I ask if anyone's got any questions for you, I'll just see if those with you have anything to add. Are you sure?
If you've got questions, sir, I'm sure Dorian or Richard will help to answer those.
There will be an opportunity at the end for you to say more, should you wish, as we go through the meeting. So thank you. You've outlined, before I come to my colleagues, you've outlined that very well, thank you. One thing which did occur to me, you've dealt with your employees and you've taken the green approach, which is wonderful. I did think you alluded earlier on to the fact that other people who didn't work were being a bit of a nuisance with mopeds and such like. Do you have a sort of, are your team able to deal with that if it's becoming a nuisance and spoiling your reputation a little? I know it's beyond your responsibility, but is it something that perhaps you could bear in mind if people come to see their friends or whatever who are working, something you could deal with perhaps?
They have been instructed not to talk to their friends. You can't be chatting outside to your friends. But to stress the 2 motorbikes that were going up and down there, we actually carried out an employee disciplinary with the individual involved, who assured us that he did not know the 2 people involved. They had stopped to talk to him as he went to his car, but he did not know them. There's only so much we can do. We can't sort of say, you must stop driving your motorbike up and down there when they don't work for us. But we have assured people that they must not stand outside chatting to their friends.
I get that. I wasn't being unreasonable. It's just bearing in mind that sometimes a place can be a magnet, can't it? People to come and have a chat. Things are going on. Oh, look, we're going to have a chat with them. And whether it's a sort of, if you've got a pub, you say, please leave quietly, deal with people on the outside, same sort of thing.
Thank you. I'd like just to explore a little bit more the numbers of moped versus the numbers of cars and how often you use the cars, because I noticed within the papers that actually wasn't so much the fact that the cars were particularly noisy, but the people were playing quite loud music within the cars. And I appreciate now that you're asking them to park a little further away. Could you just give us some idea about what percentage of deliveries are done with the mopeds, and when do you bring the cars in? So presumably these are people that are contracted you to come in if you've got extra work. So how does that work? Could you just explain that a bit more?
Oh, the guys might want to add a bit more, but I did ask that question, so I've got the answer for you. There are 11 car drivers at this store, and there are 7 moped drivers at the store. You know, I might say, how do 7 moped drivers fit on 5 mopeds? Well, obviously, they don't all work on the same night. These are not their mopeds. These are mopeds that are owned by Domino's store. Obviously, there are some nights when it's busier than others. A Friday and Saturday, I think, historically, between about 5 and 8 tends to be your busiest time, I think, so that would be the most time you'd have. Do you know what the maximum you would have on, roughly?
On a busy Friday, on a busy Friday, we're looking at about 11, 12 drivers, depending on the time of the year. Obviously, as we go into the summer, we will have slightly more drivers because it gets a lot busier in Weymouth all the way up to August, and then we suddenly go back to about 10, 11 drivers on a weekend, Friday and Saturday, I would say. During the evening, we are looking at maybe 2, 3 drivers in total, because some evenings are very quiet, maybe up to 4 or 5 on a particular busy weekend, for example, a bank holiday weekend where we know a lot of people come down and use, obviously, Weymouth for their holidays. So it depends on the days. So we try and, it's quite a fluctuating business, so we try and put labor as we see the business coming based on our previous year's experience. That's how we try and model our drivers' needs. There is no such a thing as a known formula where there is going to be 4 car drivers and 3 mopeds, because it's always related to availability as well of people that work for us, as you can imagine, and staffing can be quite challenging in the current days. But we do our best, and I'd just like to add to the fact, obviously, Councillor mentioned earlier about staff talking to people. They've all been spoken to, and obviously myself and the 2 hoteliers agreed that at any sign or anything or any problems, you please just let me know and we will deal with that right away. Because I think that's what kind of led to this situation where probably things weren't actioned or actioned quickly enough, or they didn't have the reassurance that something was being done about it. And for that, I apologize. That's why we're here today, unfortunately. But we have put amends into place now to actually see that through. And since then, I mean, I've checked on the hoteliers, they haven't had any issues whatsoever with our staff. I cannot guarantee there won't be any issues in the future either, you know, because we employ a lot of drivers. Like across our estate, we have over 2,500 drivers, you know, and you can always guarantee what their behavior is going to be on the street and that. But in this particular instance, in this premises, we have put extra extra effort and also extra resources to make sure that it doesn't happen. And the fact that I've given my own personal time, and obviously Richard's personal time, who looks after over 25 stores, and I look over 180 stores, to make sure that the neighbors, amongst the one thing we can't afford to do is just fall out with our neighbors, because we need to live with our neighbors in there. And that's why I made it clear when we met with Eileen in the office, was like, I'm not here to argue the point of whether it's after 11 or is at 10 o'clock in the morning. To me, is all the same. Our drivers should behave in the right way. It doesn't matter what time of the day. So that was quite an important point I wanted to make to the two hoteliers that raised the concerns to begin with. And I believe they were quite happy with the resolution that I offered. And hopefully we can work together in the future to actually ensure that it doesn't happen, you know. In answer to your questions, obviously, there's a lot of people, probably drunk people outside. We cannot ask for safety and security, our staff, to deal with antisocial behavior, you know, or people raving cars, or, you know, especially when they're not related to Domino's. When they're related to Domino's, they shouldn't be there in the first place, and we made that crystal clear. And there will be consequences in HR terms for members of staff that do so, because they've all been told very explicitly and very clearly that this is a place of work. This is not a place where you can hang out with your friends. And I hope that answers your questions.
Ooh, when Dorian said 11 or 12 drivers, I think that's a mix between cars and also mopeds. I should also explain, councillors, we don't use Just Eat or Uber Eats or Deliveroo. The beauty about Domino's is these drivers are our employees, so we can hold them accountable. You know, we can't sort of go off to Deliveroo and say, can you tell your drivers to do this? These are our drivers, councillors.
That was very helpful, because I was just going to come back to that question. As far as the mopeds are concerned, are they used first as a priority, or are they just for people who haven't got their own transport and then they use your mopeds? So because that's what this licence is about, I'm only really interested in the hours of 11 till 5, because I quite appreciate that families and everything would be very busy ordering between 5 and 8 sort of thing, feed the kids and get everybody to bed and so on. But the time that we're looking at from a licence is from 11 onwards till 5. So at that point, how much are the mopeds used then? Are they the first thing that you use, or does it just depend on the day as to who's available to drive? Can you just explain a bit more on that?
Okay, so looking at availability of drivers again, it will be a mixture. The way our delivery system works is, let's say you have 5 deliveries in 1 hour, and they all come in a certain order, in certain addresses. So the drivers have a queuing system. So for example, let's say you have 3 drivers on the clock. First driver will come in, whether it's a moped or whether it's a car driver, and will take 1 or 2 deliveries depending on where they are located, whether they can do 1 or 2. And then the next driver will take another one. Then somebody else comes back, takes the other one. That's how it works, is a rotation. It's not a guaranteed, this driver takes it first, this driver takes it. Looking at some of the nights, we didn't even have the electric mopeds in use, because we only had 1 or 2 car drivers riding in some days, you know. So it's not necessarily being used in the evening as a result. I mean, I believe yesterday we only had car drivers, for example, working in late night. We didn't have any moped riders because no one was available. So we have the mopeds, and the mopeds are being used mostly during the busy rush hour between 5 and 8 p.m. because that does help, especially with the traffic. We don't tend to use, for safety reasons as well, and from our experience in London, we don't tend to use mopeds quite late, because they can be targeted and they can be, it's for safety and security of our staff as well. But we do, however, we do use them in occasions where somebody has available and wants available hours in the evening, you know, as such.
Thank you very much. So that's clarified. It's for the most part, the mopeds are used in your busy times of day, sort of 5 o'clock onwards, and then as you get through to the 11 o'clock at night, and I can quite understand it, people would probably prefer to be in a car if they can drive a car, and therefore they come in and the mopeds aren't used quite so much. So it's a bit of a red herring about having the electric mopeds to actually tell the guest house people that are not, it's not going to affect them, because mostly you're using cars at that time of night. But I totally appreciate the moves that you've put in here to help people, and what would we all do without a WhatsApp group? So that's really good as well, because these days that's very helpful. So I think we've now clarified the situation about where those things are used. Thank you.
We do.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Carol, did you need to say anything at this point?
Well, thank you for the opportunity, but I did put a representation in which I assume you've seen in the pack, and really I don't have very little to add, but I'm perfectly willing to answer any questions you may have. I do think in a way that the electric scooters do help at night, because I think one of the complaints particularly was the deliberate revving up of mopeds at these hours. And if they're not available to be revved up, then whether or not a car, the car is preferable to use at night, they're not sitting there revving up their engines. It was the mopeds that the hotel owners were referring to in particular. If they're not available, they won't be doing that.
We're on. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. You spoke about the WhatsApp group. That's wonderful. They can be a bit of a nuisance, can't they? Because you talk about everything 24 hours a day. Would you also, probably not through WhatsApp, but the people that live around about as well, obviously they can be impacted quite a bit. Do they feel free to talk to you when things are going wrong? Because obviously you wouldn't want to upset the people who live there all the time. I believe you have said you want to get on with your neighbours. We've spoke about businesses. I do get a little concerned about people who live around the area as well.
I think the only thing I would say about that, sir, is I think you own the flats. You're in the building in which there are flats, and we haven't had complaints made to the environmental health or Domino's actually from any residents, councillors. Of course, we'd be more than happy to make a number available. It probably wouldn't be Dorian's necessarily number that would be made available. We'll be getting lots of contacts through his WhatsApp group. But we haven't historically, other than the guest houses who've made the review, actually had any complaints from any residents.
Just after, obviously, we set up the WhatsApp group, randomly I believe last Saturday or Sunday, I had a phone call from an unknown number, and it was one of the residents who apparently had a crash with one of our drivers. Not during the night or anything else, it was just a normal insurance matter, but obviously he was chasing where the insurance stages were in terms of dealing with the accident. Obviously, I said to him, we dealt with it on Monday. He was dealt with it. It got us a speedy resolution. And I didn't ask him where he got my number from. I assume it would be from the two hoteliers. But obviously, that was something that I dealt with it, even though it wasn't part of the same WhatsApp group. They just called me randomly. Believe it or not, is a strange, it's a strange thing. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll help and solve this issue for yourself.
Thank you very much for that. Any more questions? Any more questions? Thank you. Aileen, do you have any questions at all? Okay. Thank you. Well, you've put your case very well. Thank you very much indeed. Now there's your opportunity to sum up, if you wish. Any of you, if you've thought of anything, I don't want you to go home and think, Jack, we should have said that, especially as you've come all the way from Nottingham. So, yeah, your chance to sum up and give us the final thoughts to go away to consider. Thank you.
Yes, it's probably only just to say to Councillor Haynes about the motorbike and the moped split. Clearly, it is dictated by sort of rota shifts, because the people who use the mopeds are people who don't have cars, so obviously it's part of your rota shift. A red herring, there was complaints about revving of motors before 11 o'clock. It's just the right thing to do here, councillors, to be frank. that's why we made the decision to do it. And please bear in mind as well, Councillor Haynes, that the cars are actually parking now in the Royal Yard car park, which is further away, and that's what we've offered as a condition. Hopefully you're satisfied with the mediation that we put in place. The meeting was very successful, I understand, and hopefully you see that by the fact that the guest houses don't feel that they have to attend, although I understand one can't to say any more. Your report and the guidance, of course, does talk about you identifying the cause of concern here, and the cause of concern, I think, is the drivers, whether it's their drivers, their friends, whatever councillors, but that is the primary cause of concern, and therefore we need to address that. And the remedial action, I'm sure your solicitor advised you, the remedial action you take should be directed at those causes. This is mentioned in your report. And of course, what the remedial action you take should be, and I'm sure you've had this quoted at you many times, appropriate and proportionate, councillors, to the nuisance that either has or has not been caused, but appropriate and also proportionate to make sure that we promote the licensing objectives by the conditions that we put forward. And that guidance is in paragraph 11.20 of your national guidance, and Aileen's very helpfully put that in the report to you. I'd also ask you to bear in mind, again, something the guidance points to in paragraph 9.12 and 9.15. There are no objections or no representations at all from environmental health, who've gone on record to say no complaints from the police or the responsible authorities, despite the fact we are covered by a town centre camera. And that with all respect, I'd suggest and commend those conditions that have been put to you. Obviously, it is a control from 2300, but you've also heard in this committee that drivers will be asked to park in Royal Yard car park from 9 p.m, councillors. And thank you for your time today. And thank you. I'd also thank Eileen for hosting the mediation meeting, I think, which went a long way probably to making sure today's hearing didn't last perhaps considerably longer.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask before we sum up, have we covered all the points?
You need to ask Aileen if she wants to sum up as well, but yes.
Aileen, is there anything more you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Chair. I think everything's been said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for putting a lot of work into this and putting all the thought that you've put in to make this thing work. We'll go away and consider everything we've heard, and if there should be anything else that's proportionate or right and proper to put in place that we feel should happen. If, of course, you don't like any of that, there is the right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days. And so, thank you very much indeed. I think anything else you'd like to add? No? No? Okay. You'll be notified within 5 working days. Yes, sorry, I should have said that. Thank you very much indeed. So that's, thank you. Do we have any urgent items? I don't think we do. No, thank you. And no exempt business? No, thank you. So with that, we'll retire. Well, thank you for attending, and you'll hear from us very shortly. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.